Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In this wild throwback tale from the 70s, our OP's dad becomes the unwitting star of a border town drama. With his rock star level bushy hair and dark tan, he's mistaken for a Mexican local by none other than a classic Karen. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karening in the 70s. Before I begin, I'd like to mention that this story didn't actually happen to me, but it happened to my parents several years before I was even born. They've recounted the story to me many times when I was an adolescent in just the exact same manner as I'm retelling it to you now. In the 1970s, long and bushy was the trendy, fashionable way people wore their hair. Shoulder length, chest length, even booty length. If you were alive in the 70s, you had long or bushy hair. Even the men wore their hair like this, and my father was no exception. His hair was extremely bushy and jet black. As black as the ace of spades, with thick sideburns and a beard to match. Even though he was of Irish heritage, he didn't look Irish at all. And under intense sunlight, he would tan very easily as well, making his skin appear very dark. In 1972, my parents moved to Tucson. That's in Arizona, for those of you who slept through your geography course. The desert sun was extremely intense, and my father often had dark tan skin as a result. One sunny Saturday, my parents decided to take a driving trip across the border. That's the Mexican border for our non-North American readers. My mother's a shopaholic. She loves spending money she doesn't have, to buy things she doesn't need, to impress people she doesn't like. On this particular occasion, she wanted to purchase some handmade Mexican muñecas tejidas, small hand-woven dolls. So they traveled to a tiny border town just on the other side of the Rio Grande and found an old-style white adobe brick open front shop, which my mother confidently entered. Now, my father, not being very fond of tourist shopping, opted to wait outside while my mother entered the shop. He spotted a small wooden stool that was set outside next to the shop to rest his rear end on and enjoy the scenery. A few moments later, an American Karen approached my father carrying two colorful gooey berries. I like to envision in my mind that she was even sporting their signature Karen hairdo years before it had even been invented. Perdóname, she spoke in very broken Spanish and terrible American pronunciation. ¿Cuánto cuestas, por favor? Which means, pardon me, how much are these, please? A bit befuddled, my father turned to her and in perfect American English replied, "I'm sorry, I don't work here." To which the Karen stated directly, "Oh my, your English is very good. Have you traveled to the U.S. before?" At this point, she was beginning to sound very racist and condescending, but people didn't call out racism back then like they do now. My father just shrugged it off and declared, "I live in the U.S." The Karen, again, didn't quite put two and two together. She was thoroughly under the assumption that my father was Mexican due to his thick, black, bushy hair and dark tan skin. "Well," she said to him again, "I'm American because I'm from Wisconsin." "And you're from Mexico. That makes me American and you Mexican. Now, I would like to purchase these items, but I need to know how much they are first." At this point, I don't see how my father didn't just slap the sense right into her. Instead, he replied again, a bit more agitated this time, "Ma'am, I don't work here. I'm American just like you are. I live in Tucson. I'm a college professor there." The Karen seemed dumbfounded by this statement, not sure how to react. She inquired about my legal American father's green card. "Do you realize you need to be an American citizen to live and work in the U.S. legally? If we were in the States right now, I could call INS." "Ma'am, you can call INS all you want," my father retorted. "I'm a legal American citizen who lives in America. I don't live or work here. I don't even have any Mexican heritage." At this point, my father, hearing all the commotion going on outside the shop, decided to walk over to where my father and the Karen were arguing. "Is there a problem here?" my mother inquired. "This Mexican man is trying to tell me that he's a legal American citizen," the Karen snorted. "He is a legal American citizen," my mother declared. "He's my husband. We've been married for 8 months and we both have U.S. passports." My mother exhumed both hers and my father's passports from her cluttered purse and handed them over to the Karen. "He's not even Mexican," my mother said, nearly shouting. "His grandfather, my great-grandfather, is from Ireland. He doesn't speak a word of Spanish." The Karen snatched the passports out of my mother's hand and with pursed lips examined both of them thoroughly before resigning herself that they were legal American citizens and did not work at this store. As she handed my parents' passports back to my mother, she stated very directly, "Well, cut that raggedy mop hair then if you don't want people to mistake you for a Mexican." The Karen walked off without so much as an apology for being a POS. My mother purchased her manecas and both my parents returned to their car to begin their journey back home. As they were exiting the small town, they noticed a white car pulled over to the side of the road with smoke billowing out from under the hood. At first, they slowed down to see if the driver needed any assistance, but as they got closer, they realized it was the same Karen who'd gotten into an argument with them earlier. My father stepped on the gas and kept right on driving. They didn't stop until they were safely back in Tucson. Your parents' decision to drive past the Karen in distress despite her earlier behavior shows a certain level of justice. And our second story. No phones. All right. I work in a small restaurant, no more than 15 employees. The manager doesn't care if you check your phone as long as all your work is done and it's slow, like 2 customers type deal. I rarely ever check my phone during these times and like just listening to audiobooks and generally being left alone. And keep in mind, I'm a dishwasher/prep cook. I work all the way in the back where nobody can see me, customer-wise. We have another prep cook I'll keep as M. She's older and used to work in New York kitchen. She's quite short, so she asked me to get things off the top shelves for her from time to time, even though she's extremely rude about it, and will actively throw what I can only explain as elderly temper tantrums when you don't do as she says the very second she says it. I start getting tired of her treating me rudely and stop going completely out of my way to help her if I'm busy at that moment. Suddenly, my boss starts receiving these calls that customers are complaining that me, the guy who works all the way in the back, is on my phone all day. And after every time this happens, M comes in all grinny and smiling the next day. This goes on for several weeks until my boss confiscates everyone's phones at the start of the day because of too many complaints, except M's because she works on the days my boss is off, so she doesn't know she keeps hers. Now, I'm a pretty resilient when it comes to people's bullcrap, but when M starts following me out to my car in the morning, follow me inside and stare at me while I'm taking off my coat and doing stuff before clock-in, arms crossed, demanding I give her my phone and bangs on the bathroom door when I'm using it while shaking the knob, and she clearly knows she has my phone since she's just harassed me about it all morning. Okay, but where's yours? I say virtually every single day with nothing as response but her shaking her hand at me. All right. So I overhear her brother's been in the hospital lately, and she's pretty much walking around the restaurant on her phone the entire day, every day. But the rule is everyone must comply, yes? The cabinet she keeps everyone's phone in locked shut at a button, and you need the key to open it. So when M went out for her morning smoke, I simply tossed it in the cabinet, moved everyone else's into a different cabinet, and then the one I tossed hers in locked it closed, knowing fully damn well my boss has the only key and won't be back for at least a few days. I have never seen a fully grown woman go ape crap tearing down a restaurant looking for their phone that rapidly in my life. She eventually stormed over to me and demanded I tell her where her phone is after searching and virtually tearing open every countertop and shelf. I told her I put it with the rest of them, and the look on her face was priceless as she realized she doesn't have a key. She's screaming at me now, asking why I did that. Well, you follow me around all day saying I need to follow the rules. I figure you should start setting a good example and do it yourself. I smile and get back to work, quietly, pretty much listening to her kick and bang on the metal cabinet. Never knew what happened after that, except she follows the rule closely now and doesn't bother me anymore. The beauty of this revenge is that she can't complain to the boss about it without revealing that she was violating the policy. Hoist with her own petard. And our last story. Borderline boundaries navigating property disputes and trespassing troubles in the Utah mountains. This is concerning my parents' land in a subdivision in the Utah mountains. We're currently living out east, thus making this situation a bit more challenging. It's not been built upon, but has full utility hookup, water, sewer, electric, even a fire pit. It was placed into a very legally tight trust as of 2 years ago, which would make it a serious pain to pull out. My parents and I own a half acre of land alongside a national forest and the adjacent properties for sale. Late last night, I received a message request through Facebook along with my dad from a buyer who stated they are currently in the process of buying this next door property and asked if we would sell ours to make a full acre. Ours is .55, the lot up for sale is less than 40. My parents were given a lowball offer that was less than market value as well as less than the plot they were buying. Our plot's bigger and the value is at least twice what was offered. My dad outright refused at the price and shut down any sort of negotiation. Now, the buyer of the property next to ours made a concerning statement, quoting directly after being told, "No, that actually is the market value, and I can tell you won't get more due to the position of the lot, and especially after I build next door to it." Now, the lot next to ours is not going, that this person is buying, to be easy to build upon. It has very rough topography and lacks utilities. My parents originally looked at it years ago, and it's still for sale. We're very concerned that the excavators and builders will be tracked through our property and construction waste left. Additionally, this person has made it clear through his social media that he very much enjoys hunting big game. A big thing to note is that our property for sure borders a national forest. This property being sold does not. I pulled the property lines to ensure this. In the online listing, it states that this property's back fence borders national forest land. It does not. The back end of that property backs into an adjacent property. The concern here is obvious trespassing by using our land as a cut-through to his. For what it's worth, the real estate agency the buyer's going through has been trying to buy our property at least twice a year for 10 or so years. My parents have already talked to our realtor/longtime friend who we bought it from. This person does drop in from time to time and send photos. Additionally, my parents have already started a conversation with the HOA who will, hopefully, like they say they will, pass this along to the on-site property manager. And we do have a real estate attorney in the area who helped place the property into the trust. I'm also going to build a fence and trail cams. We have no issues with this person buying and building on his land, so long as it and he all stay on his land. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.